Good afternoon. My name is Tanya Hack, and I work as the Senior Director of International Partnerships at Games for Change. From planting real trees through in-game actions to offsetting the carbon footprint of console use, a growing group of games industry leaders is proving that casual gaming can have serious environmental impact. Together, their efforts have already saved over 94,000 trees and removed more than 18,000 tons of carbon from the atmosphere. Today's panel features innovators who are reimagining how sustainability and play intersect and what's possible when we turn everyday gameplay into climate action. Let's welcome Nadav Grosz, co-founder and CEO of dots.eco, Georg Broxtermann, founder of GamesForest.Club, Ryan Cameron, CEO of CleanPlay, and Jude Ower, Chief Strategy Officer of PlanetPlay, in a conversation moderated by Bryan Walsh, Senior Editorial Director at Vox. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. It's 12 o'clock, which means it's lunchtime, so I really appreciate you all being here. As you heard, I mean, video games, they reach something like 3.3 billion people right now, and they are responsible for, I think, about 81 million tons of CO2 a year. That's kind of on par with Greece, I discovered in doing this. So there is a climate impact. At the same time, I think the design loops that can be built in it that keep us playing, they can also help click into real-world action, whether that's planting trees and restoring forests, or even shifting console power to renewables. So we're going to explore, I think, 4 different really interesting approaches to this. We have people from dots.eco, GamesForest.Club, PlanetPlay, CleanPlay. They're all making that happen. And we want to talk about what the industry can do and what policymakers can do as well. I'm going to have the panelists here introduce themselves, talk a little bit about what they do first, and we'll kind of get into a conversation. Nadav, you want to start first?
Hey, I'm Nadav, co-founder and CEO of dots.eco. We founded dots.eco 3.5 years ago with the goal to harness the economy for rapid environmental change, doing it through games. And our title in games is like, we've put it into casually saving the planet, that everyday actions that we do will create positive change in 3 pillars: in climate action, in biodiversity, life on land, and life underwater, ocean-related issues, pollution and acidity, etc. So that's eco, and we're now implemented in games with over 1 billion players combined, and growing, creating a lot of impact, and yeah, that's what we do.
Georg?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Georg Broxtermann. I'm for quite some time now in the games industry, and also 3.5 years ago, I initiated the GamesForest.Club, which is a non-profit climate action club for the games industry. So we bring, on the one side, gaming companies together with forest conservation and regeneration projects. And in the middle, we have created a digital twin so that everyone who's visiting that site can see what these companies have done, which projects they have supported, how many trees they have planted, if they choose to, how many forests they have saved. And all these informations you find in the digital twin. And we made it a little bit playful in that way. So for every 100 euros which goes into one of these projects, we are planting also 1 digital tree. And together we have right now 63 companies who are supporting this effort. And we bring them together with 14 forest projects. And together these 63 companies have protected so far 1.5 million square meters of forest, planted over 90,000 trees, and also bounded some tons of carbon. So the idea behind that was actually that, in the field, we are all active. You know, when you are supporting as a company a good cause, it actually goes like this: you're transferring money to a project, write a blog post, which actually nobody reads or very few people are reading, and then you forget everything. So the idea was really to bring a visualized platform where the activities from all these companies are shown and represented in a nice way. So we really want to visualize all the activities from these companies and want to celebrate them.
Okay. Jude?
Yeah, hi. Hi, everyone. So my name's Jude. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer of PlanetPlay. And we're a platform helping to connect gamers to climate action in three, we've got three distinct pillars. And one is in-game activations, so purchase an item inside a game or a piece of content, and a percentage of money goes into green projects. And 100% goes into green projects, and the projects are all hand-selected and verified by our governance board. The second part is we have a store. So we have we call it the Green Steam. So it's a store that sells games, and that's because we want to give a way for PC and console games to be able to give back. So a percentage of money from the store will go into green projects. And then the third thing that we do is we work closely with UNDP, who are working on climate policy. They have something called the Climate Promise. So they're working with 120 countries to try and get countries to increase their commitments to reducing their carbon emissions. And the one way we can get policymakers to really listen is to get people to speak up. And so we're working with all of our gaming partners to collect data and insights through a little survey tool that we've developed. We collect sentiment and attitudes on climate and nature. We provide that aggregate data to UNDP, and then they use that for trying to influence policy in the right way, because we've got the global voices participating. But we also have this data to help inform game studios on what players care about, and it helps to define their green game strategies much more clearly. And on top of that, I mean, one thing that's really important for us is that, you know, for games that are going green, like, how do we help them be seen? And so it's kind of tackling an industry-wide problem of user acquisition. So we're working with celebrities, we're working with you know, some of the biggest channels in the industry, like Summer Games Fest, to help games that are going green to get extra visibility and drive UA, as well as engagement and monetization. Because, you know, if games do well, then the chances are they'll do more for the planet. And, you know, the same goes for the celebrities that we're working with as well. So working with people like David Hasselhoff, Joe Jonas, Demi Lovato, who have all been promoting games that are part of our ecosystem. So yeah, we cover lots of different strands, but ultimately trying to tackle industry challenges and climate challenges at the same time.
Ryan?
Okay. Hi, Ryan Cameron, CEO of CleanPlay, and along with my co-founders, David Helgeson, who is a Unity founder, and Richard Hillman, the ex-CTO and COO of Electronic Arts. We've created a platform to address the carbon emissions that players create when they're powering devices to play video games. So what we've done is initially just started not 3 years. We're now 60 days in. We've launched with PlayStation 5 just here in the US, our early access, and we allow players to subscribe. We match them with clean energy to match their console's energy, and then they get in-game rewards for doing so. So really kind of creating that real basic game loop. So far, we are also kind of working with some key publishers to then give those rewards and align those rewards to those players. And you know, in the coming months, we'll be expanding to different markets. But ultimately, it's really kind of looking at the carbon footprint of the industry. And when you think about the actual impact for the console business, you know, it's about 30 million cubic tons of CO2, and 80% of that is created by the power the users are using at home to power their device. So, you know, what we've kind of looked at is there's so many great programs, and you know, from Microsoft to Sony to Nintendo, really looking at how studios operate and making the operations, the supply chain better. But ultimately, the biggest chunk is that player. And if we can enable players to understand that gaming equals carbon, and they can do something about it, then we can really shift them into the right direction. And ultimately, if we can get 10% of console gamers using clean energy when they game, and then 10% of them go on to use it for their household energy, we will eliminate the carbon footprint of the console vertical that day. That is the scale that we can really create by changing that behavior for the players. So,
Ryan's point is a really interesting one, I think, because you're focusing, I think, on the direct carbon footprint, the direct electricity use of gaming. And I'm just curious for anyone on the panel, really, do you think the better approach, or perhaps the approach where we can make a bigger difference, is either in that, is it in actually having gaming addressing its own carbon footprint through methods like this one or others, or is it harnessing the billions of people who play games and sort of direct them towards greener actions, which I think some of you do. I'm curious if anyone wants to take that one.
Yeah. For us, the answer is pretty clear. First of all, we are very mobile focused. So we work with Scopely, with SciPlay, Supercell now as well, and many others, mainly on the mobile platforms. And the carbon footprint of the mobile devices is much lower than what you can see in consoles or PC. And we believe that the strongest things that we can tackle is, first of all, funding those projects that are related to the most stressed issues that our planet is currently facing, which is the loss of species, the climate, and the degradation of our oceans. And also not just monetizing them, but also creating awareness and making players invested. So with dots.eco, the mechanism that we've built, we're actually a platform, and we have over 250 projects around the globe that we are vetting and monitoring each action that you do. So if you reach level 3 in the game, you save a sea turtle or buy 10 square feet of land for a nature reserve. It's called the dot, and you get a certificate. We are getting an API request, we're allocating it to one of the projects, and you get a certificate in the game that you planted this tree or bought this land, and it's yours now. You invested in it. It generates awareness and also funding the projects. And so I believe we can do much more than that. Obviously, this is a very important topic that we should address. But in games, we can do so much more. 3.7 now billion players. Yeah, we can actually make and we are already making huge.
And gamers care.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't think the challenge anymore is raising awareness about the problem.
Yeah.
And a lot of your research shows that there's absolute desire to take action. And so I think the real task for us right now is really driving the behavior change and getting giving players that option to take action.
Yeah,
Jude, I know you've studied this actually as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I think to your question, I don't. You said do we focus on the industry or the players? I think it's both. And it's not just if we eradicate the energy consumption within the industry, then problem solved. It's a global problem, and so that's why we need the 3.7 billion players to take action. And like Ryan said, it's about the change in behaviours. And if we can get them to do one thing, we can potentially get them to do more. So we've seen in the research that we've been doing, we've been asking millions of players how they feel about climate and nature, and have they played green game content, and what have they done because of playing. And we've seen a really high percentage of people who have played. More than 50% of people that we've interviewed have played green game content. And the two top things that they do are change habits and change consumption behavior. So the behavior, what they're telling us is, they're changing behaviors, but ultimately we need to drill down into detail to find out what it is they're actually doing. And I think what we're trying to do on this panel is give players different options. It's not a one-size-fits-all. You can buy an item in a game, you can purchase a console game, or you can buy clean energy, or you could speak up. And I think all of that matters. We need to be tackling this issue from a grassroots level and systemic level as well. And that power of 3.7 billion people speaking up, which gives us insight, but also helps policymakers to do the right thing, is really, really powerful. So yeah, the industry has to do all it can, and the players need to do all they can as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would definitely agree. I mean, you should, of course, take a look at your carbon footprint and try to offset that. But I think you definitely need more. You need something like a story to tell. You know, you need a project you really want to support and integrate that into the company storytelling. Otherwise, it's just paying money for offsetting, and this is exactly where you're only on the cost side of that activity. If you want to create something for your company, you really have to think about which project I really care about. How can I integrate it into my communication, and then really try to use it, yeah, and try to bring your community of players behind it. Try to do something your employees really like and love, because when you're doing this, then you're on a good path, I would say.
I mean, Georg, for GamesForest, you allow players to actually, is it correct, like see the digital twins of the forest they're creating, is that right? Have you seen, is that a particularly effective tool? I mean, is there something we're being able to visualize, even if it's in digital form, what your actions might be doing out there in the real world that seems to sort of really reinforce that behavior for your gamers, people involved here?
Absolutely. I mean, as you said, gamers care. Of course, the first place or the biggest reason why they are coming to a game is because they want to have fun. Yeah. They want to entertain themselves, but they care more and more, and especially when you are integrating it very smartly as a developer or publisher into your game, then you can mix it up, right? Real-world activities from your company which you really care about, put it together with items, with gold, whatever you have in the game, really combining it and using it, and then actually your players will buy it. Yeah, and we've seen a couple of examples where companies have done that, integrating it in a smart way into their game, offering this to their community, and all the money was going to the GamesForest.Club, and they could support their project with that. But the good thing is they haven't lost money on the other side, so it was additional money they were generating for the project. And that really means for us, it's something when you do it smartly, then you generate money, can fulfill your environmental topics you want to support, but also have something your employees love, your community likes, and it's absolutely a win-win-win case then, right?
Jude, you were talking before with us backstage. PlanetPlay just was involved in a green game showcase. Tell us more about that period, but also that makes me wonder, I mean, how do games that have this as the theme, that want to identify themselves as green, how do they get out there? How do they get discovered? Because that's a problem for any title really at this point, but specifically for that, I'm curious, and how you saw within the showcase.
Yeah, so I mean, the showcase idea came about because we'd been talking to Jeff Keighley from the Game Awards and then the Summer Games Fest team for about a year. And obviously they do the showcases like they do women-led games. They've got a Latin American showcase. It's got wholesome games. And so they asked if we would do a green game showcase, which we jumped at because obviously it's massive visibility. And we thought it would be a great platform to show all the different ways that games can go green. So as well as it being kind of a marketing tool to show games to consumers, we thought it would be a great collection of games to show the industry like how they could go green. And so we split the showcase into 3 categories. We had games that were specifically developed for the planet, like Longleaf Valley or Out and About. And then there were games that were doing in-game activations, so games that had a level or piece of content in the game to sell an item or to teach players about the environment. And then the third category was games that had absolutely no content to do with green, but they could, and these were mainly PC games. They take it's much harder for them to do anything quickly. They don't have the live ops like mobile games would have. So we gave games the opportunity to say, right, we'll give a percentage of our sales for this week or for a month to green projects, and they told their players about it as well. So they were able to communicate it to their players, but they were also contributing to green projects. So we just wanted to show the breadth, to show like even the smallest way of giving back, i.e. percentage of revenue, could make a big difference, right through to kind of developing a whole game for the environment. And we showed PC, console, and mobile. And so I think we've got a really nice breadth of game genres, audience types, platforms. And it was an hour-long showcase where we had Will Freeman, who's a popular journalist in the UK. So he was our host with his wife, Kira, and they were just a brilliant pair. They were just hilarious. So they hosted the showcase. And then we did an interview with Ian Livingston. Livingston. So he was talking about the power of games for good. And that's what kind of wrapped up the showcase. So it was shown, so the day after Summer Games Fest the weekend after Summer Games Fest are when the showcases are shown. But yeah, it had huge visibility. We were kind of in the middle of the rankings between, obviously, the Xbox showcases, massive viewership. And we weren't at the bottom, we were kind of nearing the middle, which was great. So it meant we had a decent amount of viewers. And a lot of the games that participated said they saw big jumps in their wish lists and user acquisition as well. So to have that evidence to show that they were able to gain like a business benefit as well as do good for the planet. We're still working out like how much was actually raised and the impact that's going to have, but I think we're close to kind of $150,000, $200,000, and that will go into a project in Timor-Leste, which is protecting animal habitats in terms of protecting trees and reforesting parts of the land that have been deforested. So the money will go to that particular project. So we talk about the project in the showcase as well. So we were able to show players just the range of ways that they can get involved. So I think for the players and for the industry, it was a great showcase. And yeah, hopefully we'll line up to do one at the end of the year for TGA.
Great. Ryan, your company is looking to direct footprint when it comes to gaming. I mean, really trying to deal with the electricity part. And you say, do you think we can actually get to zero? I mean, like we can actually get to the point where we can offset this?
Well, it's not an offset.
Not an offset.
No,
well, I guess I mean like,
well,
tell me how it works in that case.
But I think that so just focusing on the console segment right now, today players spend $5 billion a year just powering their device in retail electricity.
I feel like that's how much I pay, yes.
That's a big market that's unaddressed. And what that allows us to do is use market dynamics and the commercial dynamics to accelerate. And for us, we kind of look at it as how quickly can we scale and quickly can we address the energy that people are using, because that allows us to drive the energy transition. The opportunity then for a lot of studios, and kind of going back to Jude's point around kind of visibility, is we can then use those market dynamics to be able to go buy rewards from studios. And so we partner with publishers, and in most cases, we want to go to where the players are. And so most data shows, we know this, I'm coming from Xbox.
Sure.
Most, you have 90% of the time spent playing is in about 10 games. And so as long as we are, addressing and really kind of going towards those passion point audiences, then we can reach a fair share of players and ultimately bring them in to learn about clean energy and then take that into their daily life.
Nadav, could you tell me a little bit about, how dots.eco helps companies also grow their audiences? Because this is a big part. You're not just in this for trying to reduce carbon emissions. There has to be a way of harnessing this for business as well. So yeah, tell me how that works as well, how this can be part of something that actually helps a gaming company grow its audience, obviously becomes more attractive in that way.
Yeah, so I think growing the audience is one part of that, and we do have really, we have amazing numbers. We have about 18% of the players that are receiving our certificates in-game are sharing them in social media, in DMs. So that's definitely a factor that generates new audiences. But that's not the only thing that matters. And it's even what we see now, what we learned over time. That we thought when we started the journey, we thought bringing new audiences will be the major factor of our impact on the ROI. So for us, George mentioned that before. I think also Jude said something about it, that making the impact profitable for the game. Money talks. Money talks. So it's, for us, impact, it's really important. We have environmental department. We put a lot on monitoring, put a lot of vetting all the projects. So impact is super important, number one. But for the gaming companies, most of them, not all of them, some gaming companies, some gaming studios, they really care about the impact. And most of them actually care about the impact, but they also have constraints. They also have a need to generate revenue out of every activity that they do. And if we will be there as a charity, if we will be there only as something that they just give and they don't get anything back, or they get less than what they actually gave, it's not sustainable. It's really important that we will generate a sustainable model around that. And what we see several KPIs that we are impacting and are actually even more important than the sharing of the certificates and the huge amount of views that they're gaining. And that's, I think, engagement. We see engagement, in-game engagement progress rising by 25% when we have this activity. So players are getting a reward for real-world environmental reward for achieving a milestone. They will play more if they know that if they will finish this mini game or level 3 or whatever. They will play more. They will play harder. And another thing that we do, we work with monetization experts, specifically Oksana Fomina. She's a monetization advisor. And we incorporate the rewards in a way that will increase revenue. And a crazy KPI that we managed to improve is first-time depositors. So I think you guys probably know it better than I do as game developers, most of you. Getting someone to pay for the first time is maybe, like if you have a free-to-play game, it's the most important thing. Like, it's the most important KPI. We managed to improve that by 20%. So users that know that if they will buy more coins to achieve the challenge, or will buy the skin, and that will generate real-world impact, that will save a sea turtle, that will plant a tree, or that will clean a pound of plastic from the ocean, they will deposit money. So it's a good reason to take money out of the pocket and put it for the first time ever maybe on a game. And from what we see, the general numbers that we see, that we manage across live ops activities that we're having, and those are big normally, to improve revenue, general revenue on the game by about 10%, which is huge. It's a huge number, and that's what we should always, I think all of us, we had a conversation earlier about that. Yes, impact is super important, but money talks. That's life, you know, and we want it to be win-win-win for everyone, and we need, as an industry, first of all, we need to increase it. We need to make it bigger. We need to have more companies getting involved, more initiatives like that, and creating like this hype around players. So players will look for that. Players will want to do that. And eventually, the gaming companies will see it as a revenue channel, not just as I'm doing good. And that's, I think, the main thing that we're doing, and we're focused on from day one. Guys, how you are going to make money out of that thing. And that's I think, the cold reality of life. You want to make impact, but that's amazing, but it needs to
And then for the
work.
player, having the incentive as well is super important. I think all of us, what we're trying to do is make this, we're trying to sell ice cream, not broccoli. And the more we can incentivize players and kind of really pushing, is a lot of, I think I don't know what study showed, like 40% of players say they will pay more for a sustainable product. Really?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
and I think for all of us, what we're trying to do is basically tip them in the right direction, so that it isn't at that decision point, there's more value. Not only are you doing something good, but you're also getting value for your game.
But it should normalize as well. I mean, I think what we're seeing also is like game studios that do this on a regular basis are seeing more engagement, more uplift, but also more players feel more empowered to take about taking action for climate change and nature. I mean, if you talk to players, if you talk to people about climate change, it's such an unwieldy topic. It's like, where do you start? And you can feel really not demotivated, but just not empowered. You don't know what to do.
Right.
But we've seen some studios that would do like a regular monthly activation, and the way that they've been doing it is, you know, they sit down every 6 months and they look at the roadmap, and then they just weave in green items and green content into the roadmap. It's really easy. They're doing it anyway. Just make it green, and pick an item, make it green, have a constant item, and promote it, or you know, make it not visible when you're trying to promote something else, but have something that's always on, always there. And in the studies that we've been doing through Play to Act, we saw that, because we were able to look at kind of, you know, where the data was coming from in terms of which games, and we looked at which activations were happening within those games and how regular. You know, like Lockwood in Avican Life, they do. They've got always-on green items, and they've done a collaboration with Brianna Evigan, who is she's a dancer, actor. She was in Scream and Step Up, and but she's a big environmentalist, and so they, you know, she's been collaborating with Lockwood, and they've seen some really good results in terms of uplift, but also the data from them in terms of the feedback from players. You can see that they're more empowered, they're more engaged in the topic, and they're enjoying it. So I think there's a real benefit to doing something on that regular basis. So I think we need to get to that point where we have more studios taking action, but it shouldn't be a one-off, because it could be seen as greenwashing. It needs to be an ongoing, permanent thing, a genuine intent, but also just a regular update on an ongoing basis.
Yeah. I also think it's so important that we bring all these best practices together and really communicate them constantly, because it's not very well known, especially in these times where many studios are struggling. When you go and just say, hey, you know, support a good cause, the environmental budget is the first one they were cutting the last years, and when we go there and say you want to do good and want to make money with that, that's a completely different pitch, and it's really important. And to the greenwashing topic, I think it's that's why organizations like ours are important. You know, if you are communicating your activities yourself, then it's, you know, you're getting you can fall in the greenwashing trap very easily. If others are doing it, and if companies like ours are really communicating that what you're doing as a company, it's a much better way.
Yeah.
Is there like an industry-wide metric that could be adopted? I mean, something that, because as I'm true, I mean, I reported on climate change for a long time, and that question metric is always hard, especially when you're going outside into certain kind of projects. But yeah, I mean, is there something that could be adopted? Is there so anything like that would sort of provide gamers and developers know, okay, yes, I know that I'm getting X benefit. The climate's getting X benefit for what I'm doing. No.
We're in gaming, so the high score is carbon. I mean, to me, that's the goal, is to remove carbon, and the lower and any way you can optimize how you create less carbon. I think that's the high score.
Right.
Yeah.
For us, it's protecting forests. Yeah, I think biodiversity loss is the topic I'm most scared about. So yeah, carbon, biodiversity. I think these two topics.
So I would like to there's two dimensions for your questions as far as I can see, because it's one thing to ask what are they getting, what is the benefit, and the other thing, if we're talking in terms of greenwashing, especially I think for us when we're very focused, like we are moving to console. We have Crab God that just won yesterday in the environmental award. It's a partner of us. Oh, sorry. And we are moving more and more into console as well. But still, we specifically, when we touch ocean plastic or we save sea turtles, it's not related to the impact that the player did, like CleanPlay is doing and addressing directly that. So there's the additionality issue. Did it really created, and that's something we address, and I do want to talk about it. I think it's super important that it will be as transparent as possible, and I will discuss it in 1 second. But there's also the part of what the studio is actually bringing to the table, and where is the, because I think when you discuss the greenwashing issue, specifically on our case of incentives in games, it's not like, you buy a bottle of shampoo and you offset the plastic of that or whatever, and it has a direct offsetting relationship. It's something that is more about communication, mainly around the marketing campaigns that are being done. So if someone is putting, I don't know, $2,000 on the impact, but then $200,000 on the marketing budget of that, here, that's where we see the greenwashing issue, and for us, that's a problem. Like, guys, what we put there is like a standard of, please, let's make sure that it's at least 50-50, because obviously you need to market that. Obviously you need to spend budget on that, because otherwise it will not make sense. You need to bring the players, you need the players to know, you need all of the stuff that you need to do in order to, roll your game, and but make sure that the budget for the impact is not less than 50% when you look at it as a whole. So far, that's really important topic. And the other one is the transparency of the impact, and I think that's from day one for us specifically, that's one of the tools that we bring to the studios. Not just studios. Gaming is about 60% of what we do. We also work with loyalty programs and others, but we've built this machine that takes satellite images automatically every month and compare the change periodically and take images from the ground and analyze the reports of the organization, all to not just validate the fact that your money was transferred to the project, but also to be transparent about what happened to that, so that you will know if your project created a difference, it didn't, what's happening with that. And I think that's super, super important to just be transparent about what's happening. You planted the tree, now what? 2 years later, what happened with that? And getting proofs for everything, like the chain of what happened to that. So I think those are the two issues that are super important. And I also had a discussion about it with Ryan earlier, with challenges that they're facing in CleanPlay around these topics. So those are, for me, the two major subjects of.
Right. If you want to go further on that,
well, when we started out, we were looking at different types of programs that we could connect players to, and a company today, and a lot of companies do this, that you can go out and buy 14-year-old wind from Texas and say, we're clean. You know, and so getting to projects that really truly drive additionality, especially when you're in a smaller scale and you're not a Microsoft that has 10-year long projects of power purchase agreements. And so what we've actually uncovered is a lot of companies in the gaming space want new solutions for their scope too. And so as we're looking at different energy providers, they're wanting to go in to that purchase agreement with us, so that we can even drive greater scale and be able to have larger programs that can unlock additionality into the grid. So I think that the thing that we quickly learned was it's very easy for companies to go onto a spot market and buy certificates. It's very you have to have really great partners, and we work with Evergreen and Climate Impact Partners to really look at, can we, really curating those projects, and also then it allows you to have storytelling around those projects. And I would much rather be supporting the co-op of farmers in northern Minnesota that have come together to build a solar farm, and my gaming is supporting that, versus a large multinational corporation that I don't know where that impact is actually being driven to.
Jude, I wanted to ask you before, because we have a few minutes left. In terms of the survey that you've been involved in, do you see big differences geographically? Like, are there parts of the world, there are regions of gamers that are more into this, that are less into this, or perhaps areas where we should be looking to expand, where this message hasn't gotten out sufficiently, and there could be a lot of benefit by going towards that?
Yeah, I mean, there are differences. I mean, the first time we did this, you can definitely see a difference between countries in terms of, like, are they an island, are they landlocked, and what things people would really, really care about. So people on islands, like in the UK, we're an island. People really cared about rivers and oceans because we're surrounded by water.
Right.
So it tended to be kind of, the things that are right in front of us we care about or we think about. Recently, we were picking up trends on, because we never ask personal information, but we ask for demographic information. So we look at gender, age, and education level. And so it is interesting to see kind of differences between the different age groups and also different game genres, like the types of games. Like if it's a younger player base, they're going to care, but they'll know less around the frameworks.
Right.
So like one of the questions we asked was, do you know about the Paris Climate Change Agreement or the NDCs? And if you're in kind of like older, like RuneScape, for example, you've got this kind of older, educated player base who knew more about frameworks than the younger audiences, which is normal. I think one thing that was really interesting was we saw a big difference in the global north versus global south.
Yeah.
So when we asked the question, do you think games can play a role in solving the climate and nature crisis? It was about 50% said yes, 30% said we don't know, and 20% said no. But we're always going to get the people who say no. That's normal. But there was a stronger yes in the global south than there was the global north. And it did seem to be a much more positive attitude in the south than the north. And so we didn't see kind of like any major differences between countries, but north and south was really interesting. But yeah, there's definitely a difference between like the types of audiences and the types of games that they're coming from as well, in terms of what they care about and how much they care. But I mean, across the board, I mean, there was a really positive, like the average was 50% who said that games could make a difference. And there was always a big high score in terms of habits and consumption being the number two things that people were doing based on playing green game content. But yeah, I think what's going to be really fascinating is we're doing another rollout in July of similar questions, but we've got game studios asking particular questions. So we're co-curating with the industry in terms of what questions they'd like to ask. And then at the end of the year, we'll have a new set of questions so we can delve a bit deeper. But we also had, based on the people, the previous survey, we had 35,000 people who wanted to do more. And we had... So we've reached out to those to ask them if they want to be part of online sessions, so we can dive really into the data and interview them. So we're working through that at the moment. So I think over the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to have a more kind of long-term view of the data and the changes and the trends. But I think I'm also interested to see it, because we rolled out the first survey last year, and rolling out the next one. Will there be a difference pre and post-Trump? Maybe, so I don't know. So there'll be things like that we want to see in terms of like political changes and how people feel.
All right. The Trump question is an interesting one. To give you the last word here, because we have about a minute and a half left. That Trump point is, it's not in some ways the most optimistic moment for climate policy and climate change more broadly, both definitely here in the United States, in some ways globally too. I mean, as someone who works in this and someone who cares about this clearly, how do you stay optimistic that we'll actually be able to handle this? Good.
We have seen a couple of examples which makes me really being optimistic. So you can, when you're doing it right, and if we all want to bring these 3-point-something billion gamers behind a good cause, we can achieve this. We need to publish all these great best practices and make clear that you need to do something, but you should actually do something, because then you can really create a great story for your company and even maybe make some money with it, right? So it's tough sometimes, right? Because the times in the last years weren't that positive for the games industry, but they're very good examples, which makes me very optimistic.
Yes.
Now if you have 20 seconds.
Yeah, I know. And we actually, Jude We talked yesterday about it, and we have data that shows that Midwest, a game that is like mainly about Midwest women above 50, they are fed by the oil industry, integrated environmental rewards into games, promoting nature into games. KPIs skyrocketed, right? The players loves it. Everyone is related to nature. Everyone is connected to nature. And another thing about it is that, and that's from a conversation I had with Ryan last week, when people know that the government is not taking action, they are taking action, right? If you think the government will take action, it's like, it's not my thing. You know, I'm paying taxes, they will handle that. But when the government and the authorities are not taking action, you have the responsibility, you feel the responsibility to take action, and we see it. We actually see, we see the opposite results from our business, at least. We see more adoption, more KPIs improvement, more engagement into our initiative. So complete opposite from the government's.
Well, I think that's a great way to end it. I mean, gaming is an industry where players have power in a way that we don't when we're in more passive forms of entertainment. So I think it's great that we can be using that to, as I say, push it towards a greener tomorrow. Thank you very much to the panel. Thanks to Game for Change, and thanks to you as well. Thank you. Thank you.